This video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thanks for letting me do this for so long. In all the excitement and problems associated with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it's easy to forget that these games introduce a ton of new critters into the mix. This is always a significant moment for this franchise, since its longevity combined with just how many new Pokemon are added each generation means that we have over 1,000 of these now, and the challenge to create new ones only gets harder every time. So it makes videos like this all the more interesting, because if I was Game Freak, I'd probably be struggling to make new Pokemon at this point, and yet, even with Game Freak's often scattershot approach to game design, they still managed to add so many strong monsters for you to catch. This is only a top 5, but honestly we could have been here for half an hour if I wanted. There is a ton to choose from here. One day Game Freak may well struggle in this department, but that day is not today. Divert more manpower for optimization, please. In the year 2023 AD, which is kinda wrong since these games came out last year, this franchise has roughly 2 billion different ways of evolving Pokemon. I don't blame Game Freak for keeping things interesting, since we have long since left behind a world where the craziest thing you could do to evolve a Pokemon was trade it to someone else. I remember Inkay requiring you to flip your 3DS upside down and thinking, oh no, this better not be a trend, but whoops! Here we are, only one generation removed from Galarian Yamask needing to take a specific amount of damage and then being escorted under an arch. Gen 9 is no different, and the strangest evolution method this generation is also the most subtle. Because Tandemaus, literally two mice that hang out near each other, decide that at level 25 they should get some smaller mice to chill out with. How they find them or create them is up to your personal headcanon. It's a little funky, since the level up has to be done via battling, and if Tandemaus wasn't the one fighting, it'll just evolve into Mousehold off screen without any fanfare. Your double mouse is now a mouse family of up to 4 total mice, and that's pretty damn cool. But hey, it gets better, since Game Freak weren't done being creative and thought that Mousehold needed 2 insanely strong signature moves. Stat-wise, it's nothing to write home about, and actually when stacked up against some of the Pokemon I've left off this video, you might be wondering what the hell I'm doing. Well, we'll start with the least ridiculous move first, and Tidy Up is Dragon Dance combined with Rapid Spin, so you get an attack and speed boost at the same time as removing all entry hazards from your side of the field. That's kinda bonkers, and only balanced by Mousehold having pretty average stats, but Population Bomb pushes this combination into the realm of being absurdly broken. It's a multi-strike move, much like something like Fury Swipes or Icicle Spear that says that it could hit 5 times but rarely does. The difference is that Population Bomb can hit up to 10 times with only an independently calculated 10% chance to miss each hit, and with a base power of 20, there is a very good chance of having a move with a base power of 200 with no significant downside. Bulbapedia has this very handy table with its average effectiveness, and other multi-strike moves are in the 50s or the 70s if they're good. Population Bomb has an average power of nearly 120. That is fucking madness. Who allowed this mouse family to be this strong? Put them on the box at this point, I don't even care. I decided early on when making this video that if it's only a top 5, then we should probably exclude both of the box legendaries, since Koraidon and Miraidon are both extremely powerful and would almost certainly take up the top 2 slots in any order. They're arguably one of the most important Pokemon in their respective stories and a huge part of the marketing, as well as being legendary Pokemon. Of course they're amazing. But hey, just because I'm ignoring the box Pokemon, that doesn't mean that I can't talk about some other legendary Pokemon, and helpfully enough, Scarlet and Violet have some alternatives for me to look through. I never sat in many lessons during my first playthrough of Violet, so I didn't organically experience the backstories to the treasures of Ruin, but this quartet of Pokemon are incredibly fascinating, both for their lore as these really powerful cursed monsters full of malice and hate for the world, but I also love how creatively they're designed. A snow leopard with swords for fangs and a goldfish that melts the ground to swim through it? Yeah, Game Freak can still design Pokemon, that's for sure. They're also crazy strong and have the stat distribution to suit a number of different roles in the team, but for my money, Chi-Yu is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, you know the lava goldfish? One of the strongest Pokemon in the game by far. For a couple of reasons, but the main one is that monstrous special attack stat, which used to be even bigger until Game Freak nerfed it in a patch shortly after launch. Dark and Fire is a really good offensive type combination that isn't resisted by too many Pokemon, but on a Mon with with offenses as freakishly strong as Chi-Yu, there's not a lot out there that will stand up against it. Plus, this legendary quartet all have abilities that reduce a stat of the opponent's that most benefits their own stat distribution, and Chi-Yu's Beads of Ruin reduces opposing special defense, which effectively just makes this number even bigger, and if you can set up a nasty plot to double this stat, then it's basically game over at this point. Who knew that an angry goldfish was capable of so much destruction? I swear they've got 3-second memories. How is it so vengeful? The more you unpack about Goldengo, the more of a joke it becomes. Initially, it seems to be a victim of Game Freak's decision to make these games truly open world, and with that comes the Korok Seed collectible. Some silly little token numbering in the hundreds that you need to collect close to 1,000 of if you want the special prize at the end of it. The sort of thing that's only really in the game for completionists to sweat over. But actually, Gen 9 is pretty lenient, with each Gimme-Go encounter having the chance to give multiple tokens, and since the respawning chests sometimes give you between 30 and 60 tokens, and apparently up to 777 if you're really fucking lucky, you'll soon be up to 999 in no time at all. This is the threshold that causes Gimme-Go to evolve into Goldengo, and again, it feels like a joke. Going from this mimic chest Pokemon to this solid gold surfer cheese string looking motherfucker feels like Game Freak's middle finger to anyone who thinks they understand the boundaries of Pokemon design. No, you don't. You have no idea what they're capable of. So yeah, golden statue, man, that's cool. Then you start using Goldengo and it slowly dawns on you how stacked this guy is, and as a reward for finding 999 tokens, this is just about as good as it could have been. Every attribute of Goldengo is stupidly powerful, so I'm just gonna list them and see where we are at the end of it. Its Steel Ghost typing is one of the best combinations in the game and combines the best defensive type with one that covers everything that Steel can't hit. It also has a bunch of resistances and 3 type immunities, so that's cool. Goldengo comes with Good as Gold, an ability that makes it immune to status moves so it can't be put to sleep or paralyzed, or even have any of its stats lowered by something like Fake Tears or Growl. Plus, Goldengo has great stats across the board with a very large special attack to help it be a lot more than a tricky utility Pokemon, and when combined with its signature move Make It Rain, yes, what a fucking name that is, Goldengo can fire off a 120 base power special steel move that hits both Pokemon in a double battle and only reduces its special attack stat by 1 stage afterwards. This Pokemon has so much going for it that it's hard to see a downside to using it, since it can be one of the most annoying Pokemon to face and yet so rewarding to use, and all of this can be found on a Pokemon that looks like this. And to think that Breath of the Wild gave you a golden turd for finding 900 seeds. It's not quite the same, is it? If you look over Gen 9 as a whole, you see a really strange mix of approaches when it comes to new Pokemon. We've got regional variants, but only 2 of them. We've got evolutions to older Pokemon like Annihilape and King Gambit. We've got biological cousins like the Toedscruel line that technically aren't related to Tentacruel in any way. And then finally, most interesting of all, we have Paradox Pokemon. I'm going to try and talk about these guys without spoiling what was a pretty outstanding story, but Game Freak decided that the big split between Scarlet and Violet is that Scarlet has past versions of older Pokemon and Violet has future versions of other older Pokemon. It's hard to see it as anything other than an excuse for the artists to flex their creative muscles and the devs to tweak the role that the original Pokemon had in the games, but I do enjoy their company. If just because some of these are so broken that I have a hard time believing that they were ever meant to be balanced. Great Tusk has made some serious waves in the competitive scene, and Iron Bundle is the strongest Delibird ever conceived, but I'm sorry, I can't not talk about Fluttermane. I haven't had many thoughts about Misdreavus since her debut in Gen 2. Miss Magius came in 2 generations later as an evolution, and did some work because those stats are a little higher now, but it's not like she broke the game or anything. Fluttermane clearly sought to change that because, watch these stats, yeah? Wham! Now there's loads of them! And while it is still physically very frail, that doesn't matter much when it's a ghost fairy type with 2 weaknesses and special stats so beefy that it can run a train through virtually any Pokemon in the game. You give this thing the right coverage moves and something like Psyshock to hit special defensive walls, and there really isn't a lot in this generation that can stand up to it for long. It's hilarious though, because a lot of Paradox Pokemon tried to adjust the role of the original, like how Brute Bonnet is an Amoonguss that lifts, but Fluttermane is the literal depiction of I'm you but stronger. Who unleashed this monster onto the world, and are they in prison yet? With the Paldea region being based on all things Iberian and mainly Spain, you can see a lot of that influence in some of the new Pokemon. Much of this can be seen in their names, but we've also got bulls and flamingos and Spanish mastiffs and plenty of new water types because hey, Spain and Portugal are on a peninsula and are surrounded by water. This meant that we finally got our first ever dolphin Pokemon at the 9th time of asking, and if Finnezen didn't evolve, I would still be over the moon and far away of how happy its inclusion makes me. I don't even care that its stats are hot garbage, I've waited too long to give a shit. However, Game Freak have zero self-control, and if they can make a Pokemon the most overpowered thing that I've ever seen, then we are powerless to stop them. And so Finnezen does evolve from its weak citizen form, hence the name, to the heroic and almost literally unstoppable Palafin. The idea that they were going for is that Palafin is a superhero, one that starts every battle in its secret identity form, but upon switching out and coming back, it morphs into its superhero persona and gains roughly 200 more points to its base stat total, taking it from something mediocre to on par with the strongest legendaries around. It's too strong, to be frank, and given that the only setup for this is to swap Palafin out once, something that happens all the time in competitive battling, you have a stupidly powerful, non-legendary Pokemon with the attack stat of Regigigas that has signature moves that let it swap out for free, and Jet Punch for delivering that huge attack with priority. Gen 9 even gave it the improved Wave Crash, which has been given to other Pokemon as well, but no other water type gets as much joy out of a 120 base power physical water move. Throw Terra Water onto this and you're pumping out so much damage that anything that doesn't faint immediately gets severely wounded. No one dolphin should have all that power, fucking hell. And those are my thoughts on who are the strongest new Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. Do you agree, or would you like to make the case for something else? Let me know in a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more in the future, and hit that bell for notifications of every new video. If you need something else to watch right now, I made this video last week about the best games coming up in 2023, and I also want to thank my top supporters on Patreon, including Fusion Warrior, AJ887, and the Green Scorpion. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.